I went to a paraplegic strip club the other day. Place was crawling with pussy. What up, YouTube? Scott here. Thanks again for visiting the channel. As always, I appreciate it. If this is your first time at the channel, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy it. Today, we're going to be doing a quick review on the Pulse OTF, as you saw from the thumbnail. Very excited about this knife. I've already got one EMP EDC knife. I have the Nimble X, which I just failed. So I'm really enjoying the design language from EMP EDC. And I really like their quality, their fit and finish, blade steel, their materials that they use to build their knives. Just everything about them is absolutely wonderful. It's a great company to have in the knife community. They don't really overprice their knives too much. Everything that they sell is a pretty reasonable price. I think I paid $280 or $300 for this, and I know I paid $280 for this guy. So again, really good quality, really good materials, really good price. Yes, they're made in China, but you know, you're gonna have that. I do have some American made knives. I do appreciate my American made knives a lot more than I do my Chinese knives for the most part, except for maybe the Evo 3.0. But Chinese knives these days kind of get a bad rap because they used to be really shitty. But they've upped their production value quite a bit in the last 5 or 10 years. I'd say closer to the last 5 years. But again, we're going to get into this just a little bit. I just wanted to show off my my Nimble X to you guys as well. But this one is absolutely fantastic. We're going to get started with the measurements and everything. This knife is 7.6 inches overall with a blade length of 3.2 inches. Looks like about a 3.15 inch cutting edge, and we have a 4.4 inch handle on this guy. Do some quick size comparisons here. I am switching up my size comparison knives just because I want to make it kind of more inclusive. I'm going to have a lot of the same knives that I've had in there before, but there will be, I'm adding my hinderers for those of you out there who are into more expensive or definitely premium production knives, just in case you're interested in this guy so that you can see what it's like compared to the hinderers as well. So starting off with the, excuse me, the Rat Model 1. Which is obviously going to be quite a bit bigger than the Pulse OTF. I've got the Rat Model 2, which is obviously going to be just a little bit shorter than the Pulse. Next is the RITTER HOGUE RSK MK1 G2, which is another one of my favorite knives in my collection for sure. 20 CV blade, lots of good stuff there. And then you've got the DEMKO 8020.5. I'm not showing off the 20S anymore just because a lot of people don't own the DEMKO 8020S or the 8020, so it's not a very good size comparison knife in my opinion, but the 20.5 is definitely a very, very popular knife in the knife community. You can see that's just about the same length. The Pulse might be a hair longer than the 8020.5. Next up is the SPYDERCO knives, or the SPYDERCO knives. So the SPYDERCO Paramilitary 2 is going to be just a little bit longer than the Pulse, and the Para 3 is going to be just a little bit shorter than the Pulse OTF. Last but not least, as I said, we're going to be throwing the hinderers in there. The XM24. Fantastic knife, absolutely wonderful. Obviously is going to be quite a bit bigger than the Pulse, and the XM18 is going to be a little bit longer than the Pulse as well. But you can see how those two knives compared to this knife. It's not the biggest knife in the world, it's not the most overbuilt knife in the world, but in my opinion for EDC, you really can't beat it. I should probably show you guys my, I should compare this to my Microtech Combat Troodon, which I didn't take out because I didn't think about it, but I think I have it right here. Shouldn't be too much work to find that guy. Here we go. So here is the Microtech OTF Combat Troodon. I'll put that above it because it's a little bit taller, or a little bit longer rather. Oh, excuse me. So the Microtech, Jesus, I can't believe I did that. Failed it. The Microtech Combat Troodon is going to be quite a bit longer than the Pulse OTF, but it does have the same, almost the same girth as the Combat Troodon. It's about as wide, so that makes it nice and comfortable in the pocket. It's not super streamlined or thin, but it's still short enough to where it's going to fit in your pocket without you feeling too much knife in there, and it shouldn't be too cumbersome in the pocket at all. So I'll get rid of that. All right, let's get a quick weight on this guy. So this guy is supposed to weigh 3.8 ounces. Let's see where it's at. See if we're zeroed out first. We are, that's good. 4 ounces. So according to the website, it weighs 3 ounces. Sorry, 3.8 ounces. And according to my scale, it weighs exactly 4 ounces. Yeah, 4 ounces. So still not too bad, not terrible at all. The blade stock thickness on this guy, I wasn't really able to find it anywhere, but I do have my calipers here, which don't work very well. I haven't gotten a new set yet. Let's just make sure that this is zeroed out, and we'll see how close we can get. So it looks like this has about, I'd say it's about 120 thousandths. Yeah, about 120 thousandths, which isn't too bad. That's a pretty thin blade stock compared to what I normally have and carry in, have in my collection and carry. I normally carry much thicker knives than this, but that's okay, not a big deal. I don't mind that at all. The blade steel on this guy is MAGNACUT. Oh, finally have MAGNACUT in my collection. I'm just kidding. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. M390 is good. MAGNACUT's good. I will say it's they do give you the HRC for this knife. It's 62 to 64 Rockwell hardness, which is absolutely fantastic. So at least it's heat treated properly. On this guy, you've got a sheep's foot style blade with a flat that carries about 90% the length of the blade. You've also got a swedge here, and then another little milled area on the front, kind of giving it almost like a compound ground look. And you've also got this this fuller here with the hole in the center of it that EMP EDC is known for very well. You have an aluminum chassis here. It's excuse me, T6 6061 aluminum for both sides of the chassis. You've also got T8 screws all over the body here and also on the pocket clip, which is wonderful. The pocket clip itself and the trigger are both made out of titanium, which I find absolutely amazing. I think that's fantastic. And what else can I talk about here? So there's no liners, there's no lock, there's no pivot. The action is absolutely fantastic. This guy will go in and out, in and out, in and out all day long. I freaking love this knife. The button is much easier to operate than on a Microtech OTF, at least the Gen 2s. The Gen 3 of the Combat Troodon is much easier to actuate. That's just because they have a different kind of slide setup on the Combat Troodon that they just released. But this is very easy to deploy and disengage. It's very nice to use. I actually carry this thing pretty much every day. I don't carry it absolutely every day, but I'd say at least 5 or 6 days a week for sure. The lockout on this guy is pretty close to absolute. It's not necessarily on the deadlock level, but you do have just a tiny little blade play left and right, and just a tiny little blade play up and down. I would say this is at least comparable to most Microtech OTFs as far as the blade play is concerned. You're not going to have zero blade play on an OTF unless you buy a Hawk deadlock, which those things are thousands of dollars and virtually unobtainable. So I think for my purposes, for most people's purposes, this is going to be about the best you're going to get as far as value and build quality. This is only a $280 knife. Really not that much money to pay for a knife like this, for sure. They took about 2 years to develop this knife, and that makes sense because, I mean, everything on this thing is absolutely, I mean, the tolerances on this guy are ridiculous. You can see the button here. There's absolutely no room in between the chassis and this button, and you can see that the two edges here meet together, kind of offset to the left-hand side of the knife. and the blade itself is actually offset just a little bit to the right. You can see right here, there is just the tip of the blade, like right at the end of the knife. I mean, they fit as much blade in there as they possibly could, but it's not sharp enough to cut you or anything like that. It's just, it's right there. So, you know, they couldn't, like I said, they couldn't have fit any more blade in here whatsoever. I'll show you the aluminum up close. I love the milling on this aluminum, absolutely 100% love it. And another favorite part of this knife for me is the fact that the entire thing on the show side is completely sterile. So I can show you that there. There is no writing on the blade. There's nothing on the chassis at all. It's just the screws and the milling. On the other side, the blade itself is still sterile, but you do have the Atom Man symbol here from EMP EDC on the what would technically be the lock side. Then you've also got this pocket clip, which is perfectly matched to the milling on the chassis, and you also have a small landing area here that will prevent any chafing of your jeans or anything like that. There, you know, so that's a good just a little attention to detail that most people, you know, don't get. But I really enjoy that. So it, you know, when I look at this knife, I can tell that they spent 2 years developing it and designing it. I like the milling on the deployment button itself. It's not quite as aggressive as Microtech's milling on their buttons, but it works very, very well. You can see my finger does not slip off of this thing at all, no problem whatsoever. I can do this all day long, and that's just another testament to how awesome this knife is. I have not failed this knife yet. I've been playing with it for, gosh, a month and a half, 2 months, and I've never had any trouble with it whatsoever. The ergonomics on this thing, this is pretty, I mean, it's just a rectangle. You know, there's really not much to get in your way here. But I can get a full 4-finger grip on this guy. There is no forward finger choil, but that's okay. It's an OTF. You're not going to get a forward finger choil with most OTFs that you get. But I can get a full 4-finger grip on this guy to be able to control the blade as much as possible. And it's just super easy to deploy and disengage. Just an absolute joy to use. I've used this thing for all sorts of things, just, you know, cutting paper, cutting tape, cutting string, cutting rubber. I've cut all sorts of stuff with this thing. I don't still have the factory edge on it, but I did want to show you kind of how it works with phone book paper. I'm going to start doing that as well. I'll start doing phone book or paper cutting doesn't really show you much about the edge. There are other things that you can do to check the edge, like something like putting it onto a strawberry and just letting the weight of the knife cut into it. That'll show you how sharp a knife really is. But I still like cutting paper with my knives, so and it helps you guys to be able to see how sharp these things are. So I'm just going to take a few cuts here. This is pretty close to the factory edge. You know, I haven't really done anything crazy with this guy at all. But you can see here, it really wants to bite. It's really ready to go, and it just, every time I take a hit on this thing, you can see that it's biting into the paper, and it cuts like an absolute dream. Sometimes it tears a little bit, but that's just because I'm not very good at holding paper when I'm cutting. But yeah, the cutting on this guy is great too. You've got a hollow grind, which makes it nice and slicey. See if I can show you that again. So yeah, you've got this hollow grind here, which makes it nice and slicey. Beautiful stone wash on that blade. I chose not to get the satin one just because I prefer stone wash blades over satin blades if I can get it. And again, the milling on this thing is just absolutely wonderful. You've got a nice sharpening choil here, beautiful jimping up on the top of the blade, the spine of the blade, I'm sorry, and then you can see that this swedge starts right here and comes out all the way. So you've got a pretty good blade stock here, but you've also got a nice flat here to keep the blade nice and strong out towards the tip. I wouldn't go prying with this guy at all, but it could probably stand up to just about anything you can throw at it. So absolutely, I think this is a good purchase if you're interested in it. How does this knife make me feel? I absolutely love it. It's a joy to use. It makes me happy. And that's one of the biggest factors when I'm buying a knife is, does it make me happy? Does it make me smile? That's why I bought the Hinderer Ranch Bowie, is because I couldn't figure out what fixed blade I wanted. But I knew I wanted something that was super high quality and something that gave me that feeling, just that smile, that happiness that you get when you get a new knife and it's just amazing and beautiful and gorgeous and you love it. That's how this knife makes me feel. I don't carry a lot of smaller knives, but this one, like I said, I carry it all the time. If I do carry an OTF out of the house, this is definitely the one that I carry for sure. Absolutely love it. I think that's it for today, guys. I hope you liked the review. If you did, please recommend my channel to other people. As far as my channel goes, you guys know what to do. I'm not going to keep saying that stuff all the time. I hate saying, please subscribe and like and comment and all that bullshit. I don't like doing it. So I'm going to stop doing that. You guys know what to do. It's not a secret. So thanks for watching. And stay humble, weirdos. Stay up, y'all. Take it easy. Bye.